Hi everyone, welcome to XiaoWu's channel. It's been raining for the past few days. But this morning, the weather finally turned cloudy. Taking advantage of the break in the rain, we rushed over here to do our wild foraging task. This is my grandma's house. She used to live here all by herself, but now she's over 80 years old, and can't live alone anymore. She gave birth to 7 children, so now each of her kids takes turns looking after her. In China, there's a traditional idea called raising children to prepare for old age, meaning you raise kids so that someone will take care of you when you're old and can't get around easily. In today's China, this is also a very realistic situation, especially for farmers in rural areas. The government pension for the elderly is only about 160 renminbi per month, which is roughly $23. That's really not much. If you relied only on that money, you'd have trouble even affording meals every month, so you definitely need support from your children. Of course, most young people like me, nowadays no longer follow the mindset of the previous generation. Children aren't born just for their parents, they have their own lives to live. The scenery here is really beautiful. After the Spring Festival, this place has gone back to its usual quiet self. Almost every household only has elderly people at home, and on the roads you mostly see just a few old folks who can still work the fields. The reason we came here today is to take advantage of the dry weather, and pick this herb called XiaoWu in Chinese. We use it to make our local specialty food, a kind of green dumpling. You can also call them Qingming dumplings, because we usually make this local delicacy during the Chinese festival of Qingming. The green color comes from this herb. It has a special fragrance, I like to call it the scent of spring. This green herb grows everywhere in the fields during springtime, and we need to pick the tenderest ones. Today we also brought our 6-month-old baby nicknamed 567 here for a stroll, letting him experience the breath of spring and the fresh air in the mountains and fields. 2 months before the baby was born, I lost my job and moved back to live in my rural hometown. Compared to how anxious I was right after losing my job, now standing in this picturesque field, looking at the beautiful scenery in front of me, I feel so relaxed. When I was working far away from home, I could hardly ever enjoy views like this. Even though I've lost my job now, at least I still have some savings, so life isn't too tough. With China's economy declining in recent years, unemployment for thousands upon thousands of people has become a common phenomenon. This is the chicken and duck shed we built here. In rural areas, almost every family raises chickens and ducks. Even though you can buy very cheap chicken and duck at the market now, the ones raised quickly in large-scale sheds don't taste as good, because they don't move around much. The chickens and ducks raised by farmers themselves can roam freely, and they also produce eggs. After picking the mugwort, we need to wash it with water and remove any other weeds mixed in. After washing, put it into boiling water. At the same time, we add edible alkali to the pot. The purpose is to remove the bitter taste during boiling and to keep the vibrant green color. Otherwise, the mugwort will turn yellowish after cooking. My mother is very skilled at making all kinds of local specialty foods. In previous videos, she also made tofu. If you're interested, you can check out that video after watching this one. After boiling, we put the mugwort into cold water to cool it down. Then we squeeze out the liquid from the mugwort by hand, knead it into a ball, and set it aside. We'll use it later. Today, we're giving 567 a haircut. Because of his milk allergy, he has itchy red rashes on his head. He often scratches his scalp until it breaks. According to the doctor's advice, we need to apply ointment to relieve the itching. But his hair has grown longer, which makes applying the ointment inconvenient. So we need to shave the hair on both sides shorter to make it easier to apply the medicine. After cleaning and disinfecting the clippers, I'll be the barber for today. I made a simple cover out of a plastic bag for 567 to prevent the hair from falling inside his clothes and causing itching. I learned some basic haircutting skills by watching videos before, so with my level of skill, I can give 567 a simple haircut. If we took him to the town to get it done, it would cost at least 20 renminbi, about $3. And since we need to keep it short frequently, it wouldn't be worth it. So I just bought a hair clipper myself for about 50 renminbi, roughly $7, and I'll cut my baby's hair. For a small family like ours with no job and no income, this really saves some money. In practice, it was indeed a bit difficult. He seemed to resist it a lot, so I had to have his grandma distract him nearby. That way, I could cut his hair while he wasn't paying attention. Look, this is the final result. Although my haircutting skills aren't the best, I think it turned out okay. After all, this haircut cost us $0. After the haircut, we need to give 567 a bath, to wash off any hair that fell on his body. This little guy has been really happy during baths these past few times. He doesn't cry and fuss like he used to when we bathed him. This is the morning of the second day. Today we need to go to town to buy all the ingredients needed to make the Qingming dumplings. Since it's raining today, it's not convenient for my mom to ride her electric bike to the market, so I drove and followed my mom to the town market. In most inland small towns in China, there's a market like this. It's where everyone in town goes every day to buy groceries. Many elderly people who grow their own vegetables and farm products gather here to sell them. They arrive very early. Many set up their stalls around 5 a.m. before dawn and wait for customers. People who need to buy ingredients usually come to the market in the morning, because that's when the produce is the freshest. By the afternoon, it's all the leftover items that have been picked over, and they're not as fresh. This is fried tofu puffs. They are made by deep frying tofu. In previous videos, we made them ourselves, but we already finished what we had, so we need to buy some. It cost 6 renminbi, about $0.85. Right at the entrance of the market is a meat stall. We need to buy 1 kilogram of pork. Pork is quite cheap right now, 20 renminbi per kilogram, about $3. These are bamboo shoots. In spring, wherever there are bamboo plants, you'll find lots of shoots popping out of the ground, but it takes a lot of effort to find and dig them. These bamboo shoots cost 6 renminbi, about $0.85. Finally, we bought some bean sprouts. Bean sprouts are really cheap, only 2 renminbi, about $0.15. With that, our shopping is done. Next, we'll grab breakfast at a shop and head back home. By the time we got back, 5, 6, 7 had already woken up. My wife was doing his daily routine after waking up, applying moisturizing cream. He's still full of energy as always. My mom started chopping up all the ingredients we bought to prepare the filling for the green dumplings. This is a really time-consuming process. You have to wash every single ingredient, and then chop it into tiny pieces. Lately, the rural road in front of our house needs repair, so there's constant noise from the construction site. The road has been in terrible condition with lots of potholes. In recent years, the local government received complaints from residents, but never did anything about it because they simply don't care about the people's voices. Only now, when the road is completely ruined, are they finally fixing it. Every day someone has to come regularly to take care of the chickens and ducks in the pen, feeding them. They usually eat dried corn, rice husk powder, or our leftover vegetable leaves. Normally it's fed once in the morning and once in the afternoon. My mom is busy preparing the filling, so today I'm the one on feeding duty. After more than 2 hours of chopping, we finally finished preparing all the ingredients. Let me introduce you to what's in there. This is chopped fried tofu puffs. These are diced shiitake mushrooms, they cost about $1. This is chopped bean sprouts. This is chopped pork. This is chopped bamboo shoots. And this is chopped pickled vegetables that we made ourselves. Adding this to the filling makes it really refreshing and cuts through the greasiness. Of course, you can add any ingredients you like, according to your own taste. After finishing all that, it was soon time for lunch. Today's lunch has 4 dishes. Braised pork ribs, they taste really good. Braised yellow croaker, that we bought at the town market this morning. Pork soup, and green vegetables that we grew ourselves in the field. 567 was watching us eat from the side and looked really happy. It feels like he wants to join us at the table, but right now he still can't eat these delicious foods. However, he's already 6 months old, so it's time for us to start trying some complementary foods like rice cereal. This is a dog that often waits at our door for food. We don't know whose dog it is, but it belongs to some family in the village. Every time it comes, if we have leftover bones or food, we'll feed it. In rural areas, many families keep a dog to guard the house, especially when they raise chickens and ducks. In the past, thieves from other places would sneak in at night, while people were sleeping, to steal chickens and ducks, so a dog can bark as an alarm when strangers approach. After lunch, my mom started the final step of making the filling, stir-frying it. The usual order for stir-frying is to start with the meat, because it needs the longest cooking time. First, put the fatty pork in the wok and render out the animal fat at high heat, then use that fat to cook the vegetables and tofu. Because there's so much filling, the small pot on the gas stove couldn't handle it, so we had to use this big wok. This is a traditional earthen stove in rural China. In the old days, people didn't have gas stoves or induction cookers, so they would gather dry firewood from the mountains. My mom doesn't usually use this big wok for cooking, because the gas stove is much more convenient, and collecting firewood means climbing the mountain, which is tiring. Just before the stir-frying is complete, add seasonings such as chili powder and salt, according to your personal taste, to achieve your desired flavor. Finally, the stir-fried filling needs to be taken out and set aside, but we can't use it yet, because it's still very hot and has to cool down completely. There is also a sweet filling, made from a blend of brown sugar, sesame seeds, and soybean flour. After preparing the filling, my mom went to pick another thing we need for making this food this time. What we need to pick are these large, broad leaves. This traditional countryside delicacy is usually made with ingredients right from the local area. You'll see what they're for later. In the afternoon, I went to town to pick up a large express package for 567. Guess what it is? If you can't tell, don't worry, you'll know once I get home. This is a baby high chair that my wife ordered online for 567. Even though he's only 6 months old right now, we want him to get familiar with his future eating spot in advance, so he knows that sitting here means it's time to eat. Look, the baby's high chair is all set up. Now let's let the little guy try out his throne. He's still very curious about this new thing, but maybe in a few days he'll lose interest. Every night before 567 goes to sleep, my wife wipes his body, applies moisturizing cream, puts ointment on his itchy eczema spots, and then changes him into his sleep sack. Once everything is ready, this little guy is still full of energy. He wants to be held and walked around. 567 loves looking in the mirror, seeing himself, and it makes him laugh out loud. So his mom takes him around the house to every place that has a mirror. It's still raining today. 5, 6, 7 slept well last night, and today I'm going to help my mom finish the final steps of making the green dumplings. Take a look at the tools we'll use to make the green dumplings this time. Can you guess what they're for? If you don't know, don't worry, they'll be put to use very soon. The bowl of filling we stir-fried yesterday has completely cooled down, so we can start making them today. You might be wondering, we have the filling, but what about the dumpling wrappers? Yes, we're going to make the wrappers right now. Remember this? This is the green part for the green dumplings that we prepared the day before yesterday. Since we're about to use it, we need to heat it up again. Next, we start making the dumpling wrappers we'll need. My mom is making a lot this time. She says since we're putting in the effort once, we might as well make more. So she brought out a really big basin for the wrappers. We need flour and glutinous rice flour in a ratio of about 3 to 8. We pour them into the basin and mix them evenly. Then add the heated, boiled, and mashed green mugwort and start kneading everything thoroughly by hand. During this process, we need to add cooking oil so the dough stays smooth. Now comes the hard part, kneading the dough over and over until it comes together. This is really tiring work, so my mom and I have to take turns. To be honest, I can't even remember the last time I saw my mom make this specialty food. It must have been a long time ago. Ever since I left home for university and then worked thousands of miles away, every year when it was time to make the green dumplings I love so much, I never got the chance to be at home. Now that I've lost my job and am staying at home, I finally have the opportunity to experience this long-lost feeling with my family. In China, a lot of young people don't like living with their parents, because they might not be doing well themselves. Right now in China, huge numbers of people have lost their jobs or simply can't find one right after graduating. Before I lost my job, I also thought I could keep a stable position, but the layoff came suddenly when I wasn't prepared. And in today's China, with the economy declining, most local companies won't fire you according to the law. They'll use all kinds of ways to make you quit, and you have no recourse. After losing your job, there's no unemployment benefits. If you want to know the details, you can just Google it and you'll see countless cases. And that's why many young people don't want to live with their parents, even during holidays like Spring Festival when the whole family should be together. Because many parents don't understand the real living situation of young people today. In government propaganda, the economy is always going up, and older parents believe it. So they think if their college grad kids can't find a job or lose their job, it's the kids' own fault, not the bigger environment. But as long as you can go on YouTube or X, you'll see the real situation of China's economy right now. For older parents, especially rural ones, they don't know about it. They're immersed in the victorious narrative on Chinese Douyin, and when they were young, China was in a booming economic period with lots of opportunities and easy money, so they think it's still the same now. This creates a cognitive gap between parents and children, leading to a situation where they can't understand each other. Alright, we finally finished this tricky green dough. If it were just one person, it would have been really hard to manage. The next steps, if you know how to wrap dumplings, then you know how to do this too. In rural areas, neighbors interact a lot. My mom called over some neighbor friends to help because the workload is quite big this time. In the countryside, neighbors always help each other out, and during the slack farming season they chat together. Remember the tool I showed earlier? This is used to press the dough into dumpling wrappers. Then we put the filling inside and pinch them into dumpling shapes. Besides the savory and spicy filling for the green dumplings, there's another flavor, sweet red sugar and sesame filling for pastries. For that we use this mold. After wrapping the filling with the green dough, we place it in the mold and press it by hand to shape it. This process really takes a lot of time. The three of us spent a full 3 hours to finish so many. We'll share some with the neighbors nearby. Some elderly people live alone, and don't have the energy to make them, but they can still enjoy the taste. Guess how much we spent in total to make so many green dumplings? The answer is about $11. Did you guess right? We made so many green dumplings. After sharing some with the neighbors, we still have plenty left. We'll store them in the freezer, and whenever we want to eat them, we can just take them out. It's super simple, just steam them in the pot. And that's our lunch for today.
哦，来了来了来了！哎呀哎呀，我的鸡的鸡，我鸡的鸡鸡。
It's time for 567 to have his lunch too. We prepared some baby grain powder we bought online. He's 6 months old now and can start having rice cereal. My wife is making it according to the instructions.
Today 今天吃几口？今天吃个6口。连奶都没拿。
These past 2 days, there's some good news. A university classmate of mine heard about my situation after losing my job, and offered me some online freelance work. So I can try to earn a bit of living expenses with my skills. The income isn't much, but for our small family with no income right now, it's definitely good news. 567 seems to really like the rice cereal. After I fed him some, he kept opening his mouth wanting more. But this is just the beginning to help him get used to new food. We're not planning to give him a lot yet. Right now he's still mainly drinking goat milk.
够了够了。
I feel like time passes really slowly in the countryside. It's not like my previous busy job where the company always gave you tons of work with tight deadlines, often requiring overtime without extra pay. That's the reality for a lot of young people in China. This is the first time since I graduated from university that I've had so much time to spend with my family and taken this long to make the food I love with them. Alright, it's time for 567 to go to sleep, and I need to go research some things about my new online freelance work. That's it for this video. If you like my videos, please remember to subscribe and like. Thank you for your support. See you next video.